Hello Internet, this is Kawa. Welcome back to exploring the ASCII Dungeon. This time we're looking at Caves of Cud, which is a different, very different kind of roguelike. Post-apocalyptic and very different in style from the others, as we'll see. The font here, which is, yes, forced, is a sort of classic take on the traditional raster font that we changed out of for Consolas earlier in Crawl. So this font is going to be pretty common and it's going to show up in our next few games. I wanted to mention it mostly because A, I personally find it hard to read but other people don't, and B, it has a long history in roguelikes and in computing in general, I guess you could say. Anyway, this is Caves of Cud. We already have lots of colors going on here. We also have this very fancy background happening, which I can keep making more or less of as I expand and shrink this, but I'm going to keep it at here for the sake of the screen itself. So, anyway, lots of colors already. This bright cyan, bright red, yellow, gray, and white. And we have actually a symbol to show us which item we're choosing instead of changing the background or just automatically choosing or any of the myriad options we've had so far. So we're going to pick a new game. I'm going to play my most recent character, which is a true man in a sort of brutal warrior type school. So high strength, high toughness, tiny bits of Priest of All Moons. I don't know this game extremely well, I admit, but that's what I've been playing in my tiny bits of playing so far, so that is what it is. And here is the screen. So what I want to note for you right now is two big things. Firstly, we have blinky things and flashing things, much like the changing every turn, or more often than that, backgrounds in Crawl, but this time with the actual glyphs themselves changing over time. We also have flashing, pulsating lights here. I believe they actually represent torches, if I remember correctly. Yes, I know you think I'm hideous. And we've also, alongside, to contrast what we talked about in Brogue, where one color did not specify necessarily what glyph, what member of a type we are, we've actually already broken the one character equals one class sort of thing. Because all of these here, these dots, these commas, these graph marks, all represent floor, and they're all different colors, but they're all just slightly different looking kinds of floor, and I can move into them as much as any other. There are people who find this wonderfully immersive, and there are people who find this incredibly busy, and it's a matter of preference and choice, and really what a person prefers in their ASCII, whether the ASCII should be truly representative of a thing, or if it should be more symbolic of a thing. The symbolic version tends to become rather repetitive. We sort of saw that with Crawl a bit, where all of the floors look the same, all of the walls look the same. The other version admits the fact that there's contrast, and that not every piece of floor looks the same. But it can become a headache after a while for some people. Anyway, let's wander around a bit and investigate more of the area. So these shimmering things here are water tiles, I believe. These are water vines, a particular kind of reed. Various NPCs of various kinds. We have these torch sconces and chests and workbenches, piety compels you to deliver your sacred relics to the piece of 6-day stilt. Cleanse them of your filth. And we're already using a lot of non-standard ASCII characters. Characters like these workbenches are not something you'd see in, say, Adam, which is very strict, or these, I guess they're representing water vines in this case, but I've forgotten the original typographic name of them. We're still following some conventions, though. The @ sign for the human character, the closed doors as plus signs, and at least some of the ground is dots, though not all of it. I guess these that are all consistently dots are meant to be a road, whereas this is just more general ground to walk on. Live and drink, friend. What can you tell me? You want to speak to Elder Iridad. Look for his hut. Some creatures are eating our water vine. Farouk claims he saw one slinking around a vine patch. So already we're noting a lot of color. Multiple shades of green, yellow, red for red rock, white for this cave to the north as opposed to the gray of the rest of the conversation, green for player characters. So we're using contrast a lot to specify certain things. And so I've received a quest. Cool. Okay, you won't trade with me until later. Oh, and here's something fun. So this whole area is the map, and parts of it are covered by our character sheet, similar to what we saw in Crawl. But unlike Crawl, where it's always fixed in this section and the map just sort of shifts around to compensate, we actually have this happening where it'll shift to one side or the other depending on what direction we seem to be going. And the message buffer is actually part of this as a whole. We have a lot of stats here. There are a lot of stats in Caves of Qud, and I'm sure even more complications if we happen to be mutated. And one thing I should note is the fact that we did in fact have very large take over the entire screen instances for talking to NPCs, as opposed to, say, Adam, where we just had it as part of the message buffer that was always there. Interesting contrasts. Like so. So Tam would trade us things, but I don't really want anything. I am a dromad, a salt strider. I desire nothing. Live and drink. I guess live and drink is the common greeting of the area and of the age. Makes sense given the post-apocalyptic setting. 8-day wish in the heart keep pumping. Move along, they do. Thanks. And here we finally have the Elder. What can you tell me? Joppa is an oasis hamlet nestled between the eastern reaches of the Great Salt Pans and the jungles of Qud. Community of water vine farmers. These groves lie along some of the few tracts of land. Qud is strange and terrifying. Interesting thing here. This question, which we already asked, has turned darker to indicate that we already know about it. Breathe life in all its motley forms. So yes, some background, some backstory. Pretty cool stuff. We can keep peeking around a little bit, but let's go to Red Rock. Let's see what that area had to offer for us, since that seems to be our one quest at the moment anyway. So if I try to just travel up, okay, so we can go up from any surface zone and we can return downwards. Right now we're just in the outskirts. We have these yen symbols representing trees, and they're all different colors, and different colors, I guess, represent different kinds of trees. Star apples and witchwoods and dogthorns. Once again, the ground is strewn with all of these different Item types. And this is a zealot of the 6-day still, which I guess is a particular kind of person. Represented by a Z. I thought it was a zombie for a second and got freaked out, but it doesn't make sense for the settings, so. Anyway, let's go up. This crazy thing is the overview. These represent rolling plains, these represent the water vine swamps, red rock, salt marshes, salt dunes, all over the place, foothills, lots of different kinds of areas, all represented with different colors and different shapes, and it's very intense and very busy and a very interesting map. To contrast Adam, which we looked at earlier, this map is, well, it's full from the beginning. We already know where everything is, unlike Adam, which you saw before, where in the beginning all we saw was one tiny, tiny corner, and as we explored we found more. This time we're assuming you at least have some idea of the general overview of the world, but once we go into these places it might get more interesting. I don't know if that's different for different character types, I don't know. As I said, I actually don't admit to not knowing a lot about Caves of Qud, but still pretty interesting. But yeah, also, as you might have seen, we once again have multiple glyphs representing the same thing. So this Tau and this Mew and this club all represent wild jungles of different types. Maybe they're slightly different from each other, maybe they're not. We also have this constantly shifting water between 1 tilde and 2 with flashes of white and lots of both light blue and dark blue. Very busy is definitely the word for it. But of course the real world comes at us in a way that is very different from simplified ASCII glyphs, and this is Caves of Qud's attempt to represent that in its own way, which I'm sure some people think is admirable, and I find extremely exhausting. But that's okay. Let's go to Red Rock. Okay, 50 experience. We also have these pop-ups. I haven't been mentioning this, but instead of just having the message buffer, which I admit sometimes I forget to read the message buffer or lose messages in the message buffer easily in games like Crawl or Adam, this time we have these pop-ups that show up all the time, which are actually kind of handy because they tell us right away, hey, this is something worth noting or worth looking at. Baboons are throwing rocks at me. So hearts are used to show attacks. Like so. And then they flash off, and once again we have these percent signs for corpses, but unlike Crawl, we don't have the sudden change of background to represent that there's also something else there. I'm taking quite a bit of damage, but I can take it, so I guess I got a critical. That's kind of cool. Do I have any way to heal? I have food. I have energy. I have torches. I have... Ah, there we go. These salve injectors seem to give me some health. Not much, but some. And I guess I'm actually told what my roles are, which is a pretty different experience. Soothing tingle fades. I guess it's a time effect, not a... There we go, level 2. And I'm told right away. And a very, very different kind of combat experience than most of my normal ones, which can be considered a good thing. Let's grab some of these stones. Never know, right? Not all of them, they're kind of heavy, but something at least. What are you? It's a goat who isn't touching me, so I'm not really gonna touch it. So I guess I get these fancy critical hit messages, which I think is actually kind of cool. Just need to double check keep mapping real quick. Walk. Can I set auto explore to O? Neither of the keys that I would really like to use are... Actually, I have an idea. Tilde. That's kind of interesting. I haven't been noting key bindings, but while technically a lot of roguelikes do have easy to use, do have customizable key bindings, this is actually the easiest I've had it in terms of changing them in a long time. Get from nearby, look, search. Here we go. Okay. So this is heal. Good. Nice. So we can keep wandering around here a bit, taking note of things as we see them. More rocks in here. I can't tell what squares have items and what don't, which may be intentional. I mean, sometimes things are hidden in, you know, the leaves in the ground and what have you. But again, it's not intuitive to me, and it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense to me. And I bump into things, apparently, instead of just not moving through them. It's just kind of weird and disappointing in its own way. Anyway, let's head to the downstairs. Let's actually use that, okay. There's my full explore. It's interesting, too, that auto explore is optional, which I guess is kind of a good thing. Anyway, I definitely do need, light. There we go. Seed spinning vines. Okay. Ah, almost dead. Almost dead. Probably should have used, like... Oh, I see. The +5 goes up as I heal 5 hit points, and the other thing goes down as I lose, So, let's grab these weapons and this armor. And let's see if it's any better than what I currently have. Oh yeah. That's better. Have a Fronate Moon Mask, an albino monkey brain, an opal pommeled steel battle axe, which is definitely better than anything else I currently have. And thrown weapons that I keep forgetting I have. So, some definitely very different from what I'm used to. That's not any better than what I've currently got. And not in a bad way. And let's... Grab that cap. Not the rest, though. I think it provides more than... Those vines are quite annoying. As I said, I don't actually know a lot about this game, and I'm sure that's showing. But I'm definitely fascinated by all of the ways that it's completely different from any other roguelike I've seen. It definitely chooses very willingly to break a lot of the traditional roguelike paradigms, and that's inherently fascinating. Why am I not resting until healed? Should I go back upstairs? Not really sure. There we go. Let's explore the rest of this level. And before, I don't penetrate the armor. There we go. That's better. Let's grab that battle axe, that bow. Those fur. No, not those furs. Those cloth overalls look interesting. As does that mace. And that short bow. But yeah, lots of color, lots of symbols, very confusing, but definitely completely different than any other roguelike I've played. And that, in and of itself, is kind of valuable. Ominous, literally subliminal hum. Well, that's creepy. Some boulders. Another level. Another attribute point. Etc., etc. I do wish that the help index from the question mark and the key mapping were in the same place. But then again, considering this how customizable this is, that probably is for the best that it isn't. So here we go. Skills and powers character sheet is X. Here we go. Let's increase toughness since I've been losing that all the time. And call that my leveling. Trash. Robes, battle axes, okay. But yeah, definitely a very interesting game. And then I am used to. And with making a lot of choices of, I want players to have a lot of choice, which, given that, there are similarities between this game and Dwarf Fortress, not in terms of setting or gameplay, but just purely in terms of visual style. I guess it actually does kind of make sense to really value player choice, because that's something Dwarf Fortress itself really emphasizes. The player makes the story, and as long as it is fun for the player, nothing else matters. That's definitely within the Dwarf Fortress tradition, I guess you could say. And Caves of Cud seems to take a similar approach, and they have similar visual styles. I have no idea if that's coincidental or purposeful. As I said, I actually don't know too much about this game other than listening to the Roguelike Radio episode and interacting briefly with some other people who play it on YouTube. But either way, I find it really fascinating, and it's definitely a very different take on ASCII roguelikes. So that's it for me for this, I think, for now at least. Next time we will do probably something a little more traditional, but maybe not. You'll just have to tune in and find out. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you next time.